Part 2, The Great Flood. Sentence 1. Dei discesserunt, et Jupiter Neptunum, fratrem suum, Deum Marus, ad se vocavit, et auxilium eius quaesivit. In order to translate this sentence effectively and correctly and efficiently, we need to understand that it contains 3 verbs and therefore 3 separate parts to the sentence. The first verb is discesserunt, which is the verb departed. Notice that it is built on the base of the third principal part. The ending erunt tells us that it is in the perfect tense. The second verb in the sentence is vocavit. Notice that it too is built on the base of the third principal part of the verb voco, vocare, vocavi, vocatum. The it tells us that it is in the perfect tense. And finally, the third verb is quaesivit, from the verb quaero, quaerere, quaesivi, quaesitum. This verb form is also built on the base of the third principal part. The it tells us that it is in the perfect tense. Vocavit and quaesivit both have a third person singular subject, while discesserunt has a third person plural subject. We know this because of the nt on discerunt and the t on both vocavit and quaesivit. 3 verbs indicates 3 separate sections. Where are those sections? Discerunt is immediately followed by et, which is then followed by a singular nominative case noun, Jupiter. This tells me that Jupiter is not going to be the subject of discesserunt because it is singular. This is also confirmed by the fact that discesserunt is followed by the conjunction et. And so my first clause begins at dei and ends at discesserunt. When we look at the first clause, dei, from the noun deus dei, which means God, and is from second declension masculine, ends with the letter I, which makes it nominative plural. This supports the fact that my verb is also in the third person plural. So dei serves as the subject of discesserunt. Now we move on to look at the second part of the sentence. It has to include one of the next 2 verbs, vocavit or quaesivit. As I scan the sentence from Jupiter to vocavit, I notice that there are a series of nouns in the accusative case: Neptunum, fratrem, suum, deum. There is no conjunction between them, so I am left to believe that they must all in some way describe one another. I also notice that there is a prepositional phrase beginning with ad and ending at se. This occurs right before the verb vocavit, and immediately after vocavit I have the conjunction et. So I'm going to end my second clause at vocavit. Let's look at how to translate the second clause. Jupiter is in the nominative case, so it must be the subject. this is where I will start. After a subject, I always need to go to a verb. So I will go to wokawit. Then I need a direct object because the verb call needs a direct object. You have to call something or someone. This explains all of my accusative case nouns. My first accusative case noun, Neptune, is the direct object. Fratrem suum is telling me something about Neptune. So it's going to be the fourth item in my sentence. Remember that suum refers back to the subject. So this is referring to Jupiter and therefore must be translated as his. Deum also ends with the accusative case, so it still is part of the direct object. The pen doesn't like the number 5. So let's see if I can do it this way. Well, anyway, not having very good luck with the number 5, so I'm going to use the Roman numeral 5. It is the final part of the direct object, and it is followed by the word mara maris, see, in the genitive case. So when you translate the word see, make sure to put the word of in front of it. So you have the god of the sea, which is of course pointing back to Neptune. Odd say uses the reflexive pronoun say. Reflexive means that once again it is pointing back to the subject of the sentence. So you will translate say as himself because it is referring to Jupiter. So Jupiter wokawit Neptune, his suum fratrem, the deum of the maris, ad say himself. We end the sentence with the final clause, auxilium eius quaesivit. Notice that the word for his this time is not suus aum, but eius, meaning that it is not referring to Jupiter, but instead it is talking about Neptune. So you will still translate it as his, but this time we are referring to Neptune, not Jupiter. Auxilium, if you look at the vocabulary list, is in the nominative form. But recall that a noun that has a nominative form of um and a genitive form of I is neuter. That means that auxilium is also in the accusative case. If we put auxilium as the direct object of this sentence, then that means that we have to use he as the subject of quaesivit. He asks for what? Then we have space for a direct object. That is the construction of sentence 1 of part 2.